There's a group of ladies, all with those big hairstyles from the 1960s. A British Army soldier is standing guard. There are also two beachgoers. They are separated by a barbed wire fence. This is on a beach in England in 1941, during the Second World War. They're laying down 8-inch shells, West Indian and Australian troops during the Battle of Ypres in 1917. Sharpshooter Annie Oakley shooting over her shoulder using a hand mirror, around 1899. The White Pass Trail, also sometimes known as the Dead Horse Trail, is at the border of Canada and the United States. This was in 1898. Love came to me, and I was not afraid to marry the man I love because of his color. The Bell Labs Videophone project took place in the 1960s. People are riding in goat carriages in Central Park, New York in 1904. A young Tajik woman is playing the dutar in 1899. Here's H.L. Baudouin with the deep-sea diving suit he invented sometime in the 1930s. John Lennon's posing with his son Julian next to his Rolls-Royce Phantom 5 in 1968. Stephen Hawking is reading a newspaper at 21 years old on May 17, 1963. Ensign Robert T. King, in his damaged TBM-3 Avenger, White 113, in 1945. His Avenger was hit by another aircraft during a flight. That other aircraft had been hit by anti-aircraft fire. The collision took off about 4 feet of the left wing. The meeting of Japanese Prince Takamatsu Nobuhito with Marshal of Poland Józef Piłsudski took place on October 10, 1930. A Japanese woman is carrying her children. They're in a bucket on her head, and this was in Japan during the 1900s. There's a horse in a tree after a storm in Louisville, Kentucky in the USA in 1937. The Civilian Conservation Corps was part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal. It was formed in March of 1933. It promoted environmental conservation while also giving work and purpose to many who were unemployed. Imagine being those guys. Nothing like that thing had ever been seen before besides some Northrop and Armstrong Whitworth experiments. It must have been amazing seeing a plane so exotic during World War II. A reunion of former slaves in Washington, D.C. in 1916. From left to right, you have Lewis Martin, who's 100 years old, Martha Elizabeth Banks, age 104, Amy Ware, age 103, and Reverend Simon P. Drew, who was born free. Instructors of the Karen National Liberation Army are training Burmese students. They're teaching them how to use the M1601 rifle. This is happening after the students fled the government crackdowns on the 1988 protests. Ensign R. Black made a remarkable carrier landing on the USS Yorktown in 1944. His Grumman F-6F Hellcat was badly damaged over the island of Palau, resulting in a sideways landing that sheared off the tail and one wing. Bernie Sanders, at 21 years old, was protesting segregation and got arrested in Chicago. This was in August 1963. Alright, so this is at the California Alligator Farm. Kids could ride and play with alligators there back in 1920. Richard Nixon, 1930. A fishing boat in New England is covered in ice. This was in British Columbia in 1916. Pauline Musters, the shortest woman ever to live. April 25, 1945, Americans and Soviet troops met in the river of Elbe, cutting Germany into two. The year is 1938, and we're in a butcher shop in High Wycombe in the UK. Victorian photographs show the complicated process of wearing a crinoline dress around 1850. The coronation of Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain happened on June 2, 1953. The Boeing Space Center's Visual Spaceflight Simulator offers a bunch of different missions. Pilots can do simulated lunar orbits, land on the moon, or try to rendezvous with another spacecraft. This all happened around 1960. 1942 Buick, the last one built. It's 1946, and it's a homecoming for a prisoner of war. A 15-year-old sweeper is in the spinning and spooling room of Berkshire Cotton Mills in Adams, Massachusetts. This was July 10, 1916. A traveling circus elephant helps wash a 1950 Chevrolet Fleetline Aero Sedan, which has 91 horsepower. A 50s American mother is feeding her baby. Harley with a baby seat, 1962. Federal Reserve Bank, New York, 1959. Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley are with their daughter, Lisa Marie. Priscilla and Elvis met in November of 1959 when Priscilla was only 14 years old. Celebrating the end of World War II, wounded veteran Arthur Moore looks up as he watches the ticket rain down from New York buildings. It was August 14, 1945. Fairy Sisters, cabinet card photo from around the early 1890s. The family of Tsar Nicholas II. A man is posing with a motorcycle that has skis attached. This motorcycle is for traveling through the snow in Kehrsatz, Switzerland during World War I. August 8, 1936. Washington, D.C. Safety first for this miss. Equipped with bumpers fore and aft, 4-year-old Betty Buck is taking no unnecessary chances as she tries her first pair of roller skates. Dutch Halibuts, Amsterdam, 1913. The Moto Catamaran George Moneret, United States, 1952. All right, a German factory is introducing the double Lambretta, dating to 1953. This is the tuberculosis ward of the Haskoy Hospital for Women in 1880, Istanbul. The iceberg was spotted 2 days before the sinking. It was initially a faint speck on the horizon, but it quickly grew. A lookout saw the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The ship struck the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on the night of April 14, 1912. The iceberg ripped a 300-foot gash along the ship's starboard side. The Titanic sank in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Scorpions, Germany, 1965. Animals bring a kind of joy not found any other way. (1985), the early years of Nintendo. The company was still printing handcrafted playing cards only. Two women stand in front of an anti-women's suffrage poster in Zurich, Switzerland in 1947. The image shows St. Mary's, Aldermanbury, surrounded by buildings that had been devastated by the Luftwaffe's incendiary bombing blitz during World War II in 1941. United Nations troops had a Christmas service near the frontline combat zone during the Korean War in 1945. Folks are decorating a saguaro cactus like a Christmas tree in southern Arizona around the 1930s. The Arizona Historical Society has this. The Raffle brothers are in front of the first Arby's in Boardman, Ohio in 1964. (1894), sport fishing, Palm Beach, Florida. Day's catch. Self-propelled, Washington, D.C. This is an adjustable and reversible aircraft propeller called the Paragon. It was created by Spencer Heath and tested on October 11, 1922 at Bowling Field. French art dealer Raymond Hecking is surrounded by various copies of the Mona Lisa. This happened in Paris in 1955. A woman demonstrates a futuristic typewriter chair. It's complete with headphones and a light, and this is in Paris, 1972. This would have made a much better Sistine Chapel, circa 1960. Students praying over the rubble of Pantglass Junior School after the Aberfan disaster, a coal waste landslide that killed 144 people. Wales, 1966. It was a car factory accident in Boston during the 1930s. An elephant is putting in his regular order at the pub, 1971. Iggy Pop was raised by the crowd in a messianic pose. Live in Cincinnati in 1970. In 1952, the Art and Camera magazine. Bread is being handed out to captured Soviet soldiers at a German prison camp in occupied Soviet Ukraine in July 1941. Deputy Sheriff Clemia A. Hurst is with 25-year-old Rainey Allen. They're about to get on a bus to go back to Beattyville, Kentucky, because Allen was wanted for murder there. This was in Pontiac, Michigan on October 17, 1945. Sergeant George Cambler is practicing with a gas mask and a smokescreen. This took place in Fort Belvoir, Virginia in 1942. Rooftop track, Turin, Italy. At the Fiat factory, cars were tested right on the roof. The Undertaker looks down at medical staff checking on mankind after he fell, unscripted, through the top of hell in a cell into the ring 16 feet below, June 28, 1998. Mountain climbers are climbing a rock face in the Swiss Alps in 1920. All right, let's talk about how women's bathing suits changed from 1875 to 1927. The Albertina Rasch Chorus Girls, who are appearing in Wild Violets, were formed on February 14, 1933. A French soldier falls from his wounds during the battle for the French fortress town of Verdun on February 21, 1916. Audrey Hepburn, a candid shot with her first son, Sean. San Francisco, around 1915. There's a Studebaker motor car in a repair shop with a garage mechanic. Don't try this at home or at work. Washington, D.C., 1924. We're looking at the latest electric baseball scoreboards. George Coleman, the inventor, is here with the mechanism. So it's 1906, and billboards were everywhere. They were used to advertise a bunch of stuff. One was for a theater. Another advertised a type of beer. You'd also see ads for things like a bicycle and a store that sold clothing. Eddie the Eagle Edwards soars above a roaring crowd at the 1988 Winter Olympics. He finished last. Anatoly Karpov is playing an exhibition chess game in 1978. Rows of crosses mark the 4th Marine Division Cemetery on Iwo Jima, a solemn landscape carved into the volcanic island just weeks after the battle. Nearly 7,000 U.S. Marines and sailors found their final resting place here. It was March 1945. In 1986, liquidators were on the roof of reactor number 3 during the Chernobyl disaster. A blind man tests a device that allows you to hear light. This was an invention for the blind. It was made in 1912. Following the creation of Czechoslovakia, Austro-Hungarian state symbols were gathered on pieces of wood to be burned in October of 1918. David Bowie at a press conference in Tokyo, April 5, 1973. Samson Beaver, a guide and member of the Stoney First Nation, is with his wife Leah and their daughter Frances Louise in 1907. Germans with white flags are approaching American soldiers in occupied Bavaria, Germany, in April 1945. The British Army bicycle, 1914. The sleeping giant is in the form of a large island. From a distance, it appears to be a giant lying on his back. The giant's head is to the north, and his feet point south. The giant is about 2 miles wide and 4 miles long. Georges Tairraz II. 2 climbers are traversing the Aiguille du Midi and Aiguille du Plan in Chamonix, France, in 1932. The United States Pacific Fleet positions for a battle during the Marshall Islands Campaign, around 1944. East Berlin in the 1980s, a pure example of communist-era urban architecture and design. Richard Nixon waves goodbye as he boards a helicopter after resigning the presidency earlier that day. It was August 9, 1974. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip are sharing a laugh while watching a rope acrobat in 1963. Mick Jagger, England, 1967. Nikolai, or Pic Sanchela Hoyt, of the Native American Salish peoples. This was on the Flathead Indian Reservation in western Montana around 1905. There's a woman getting photographed. It's the year 1903. She's having her picture taken for the first time. This is a foster mom and her feathered kids, 1942. St. Paul's Cathedral is standing up gloriously out of the flames and smoke of surrounding buildings. It's pictured during the Great Fire Raid of Sunday, December 29, 1940. Reverend Henry Brown is standing with President Abraham Lincoln's horse, Old Robin, on the day of Lincoln's funeral. This was in Springfield, Illinois, on April 19, 1865. The year is 1900, and women are getting ready for a ball.